Hey, what's up guys? Paul Tomko here. Today we got leg training at home. How do you effectively train your legs when you're at home with very minimal equipment? We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Here we go. All right, next up on our home workouts that we got going on are the leg workouts. So when you're doing legs, the number one exercise, in my opinion, is the squat. So you can do the squat anywhere, just coming down, controlling the way down, coming up. You can put your arms like a genie, like I just did. You can do arms by your side. The most important thing is nice, controlled, wide stance, coming the way down, controlled. I come down to about 90 degrees right there, squeeze up, controlled, squeeze up. If you want to make that more difficult, you can always do a jump squat. So you're coming down, jumping up, coming down, jumping up, coming down. And the higher you jump, the harder you're making it. So again, we're at home. Most of us don't have too much weights that we can use to make things harder. You know, maybe you go into the gym and you're used to squatting 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds. Well, when we're at home, we don't have all those weights available. So we have to find the same ways to stimulate the different muscle groups, your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, without as much weight. One of the best ways to do that is plyometrics, where you're being explosive. You're driving up. And by doing that, you're able to engage those same muscle groups much more intensely. If you do have weights, you can of course do squats with the weights. You can either hold them on your sides, coming down. You can have them up here. So allows your legs to be up wider. Coming down, controlled. You can do jump squats with the weights. There's a lot of different variations you can do, but squats are my number one leg builder that you can do. Another great one that you can do for your legs is the lunge. So when people are doing lunges, you can either do a static lunge where you're not moving anyway. You're just staying stationary, coming down, coming up, switching legs. You can do walking lunges when you're literally moving as you go. You can do lunging where you lunge forward, stand up. Lunge forward, stand up. Sometimes you feel more stress in your knee doing that. So another variation is doing lunges backwards, lunging back. And when you're lunging backwards, you should feel less stress in your knee, but you're still getting a good stretch. Now, one tip if you're doing walking lunges, my personal favorite is walking lunges. There's a couple tips to keep in mind if you're doing walking lunges. One, when you're doing a lunge, always make sure that you step far enough away that as you come down, you get a nice, good 90-degree angle. If you take two small steps, like right here, a small step, as you lunge forward, your knee goes over your front toe. As that knee comes forward, you're putting a lot of bad stress on your knee, too much stress. So you wanna make sure you step big enough so when you come down, you get a nice, good 90 degrees. The second tip is you wanna land softly. If you're doing lunges, but you're just coming down really hard with every step, again, there's a lot of impact on your knees that is not good. So when you land, you almost wanna land very softly. I almost joke around like you want to land like a ninja, right? So land nice and soft. You can barely hear your step. You come down, nice and soft. Control that movement. The next big tip I have is make sure you have very good solid shoes. You don't want to be wearing running shoes ideally if you're doing lunges, because running shoes are great for running, but they're not the best lifting shoes, because a lot of running shoes, they have a lot of support, a lot of padding in them. For example, you know, I love Brooks running shoes, but they have like almost an inch of padding and gel and supportive things that are great. They give you more cushion when you're running. But when you're trying to do like a really good leg workout, especially if you're being explosive or using more weights, they're gonna allow your foot to shift around a little bit. Almost like if you were to exaggerate that movement, it'd almost be like if you're trying to do squats on like a bed or a mattress or like a water bed, where you're really unstable. You don't want that. You want to be really nice and tight, without all that wobble. So I don't recommend running shoes. I recommend something with like a thinner, flatter sole, something like a Chuck Taylor, or something that has a really thin, solid sole. Oh, one more variation of the lunge. This is called the Bulgarian split squat. You can get your back leg on a bench, on a chair. And this is one more way that you can do a lunge, where your back leg is supported, you're coming down and up, coming down and up. If you're trying to find creative ways to use weights, I mean, just look around your house. What do you have that's heavy? Again, the legs are really strong, so to find enough weight to really challenge them, it can be challenging sometimes. But you got rocks, you got buckets. Here I got these 5-gallon buckets from my house. I filled them with these river rocks. And you know, you can do squats with these, coming down, squeezing up. You might not have the full range of motion, but that's okay. You can still squeeze up with it. If you're trying to work your hamstrings, the back part of your leg, the best exercise that you can do at home if you have dumbbells is called Romanian deadlifts. There's a lot of deadlifts, there's a lot of names for deadlifts, whether you're doing like a normal deadlift off the ground, if you're doing a stiff leg deadlift with your legs locked out completely. My favorite version, if you have dumbbells, is called the Romanian deadlifts. Now, Romanian deadlifts are a little bit different because your knees are slightly bent, and as you come down, your butt sticks out. Right there, you keep the dumbbells nice and close, and you squeeze up. So by doing this, by keeping your dumbbells nice and close to your legs, you're helping to protect your back. Because if I let my legs lock out completely, and I let the dumbbells kind of float away from my body, I'm gonna feel more stress in my hamstrings, but I'm gonna potentially compromise my low back. And I never wanna compromise my low back because low back injuries suck, okay? I'm speaking from experience, they are not fun. So you wanna keep your low back safe. To do that, keep the weight nice and close to your legs the whole time. Stick out your butt as you come down and squeeze forward. So hips go back, controlled, weight's nice and close to your body, and you drive your hips forward. Hips go back, hips go forward. So that's a great one to work your hamstrings. You can use these same buckets of rocks. Do the same exact exercise. Same movement, coming down. Yeah. Okay, well maybe, in this case, you might need to stand on something. Again, just be creative. The stool may not be the strongest, but there's a catastrophe waiting to happen on video. Test the limit of this little stool. All right, so this is an idea. I'm just winging it right now. But by stepping on a stool, now I have more clearance because these buckets are hanging down so low to the ground, right? When I'm right here, these buckets are too close to the ground, so I can't really get a good full range of motion because they're too close to the ground. So I found a stool, something to stand on, and by doing this, by standing on a stool, I have more range of motion. I can go lower down to the ground and get a better range of motion. So you're trying to find ways to add weight, put some rocks in some buckets. You can use, I mean, really there's so many different things you can use for weight. If you want to do squats with a case of water, I mean, honestly, your imagination's the limit here. The last thing I want to talk about quickly is if you want to hit your calf muscles, the best way to do those without any weight is to find a block that you can stand on, find something to hold on to so you don't lose your balance, and just do single leg calf raises. So by doing one leg at a time, you're able to really isolate more of your body weight onto that single calf muscle. If you want to, you can always hold a weight, make it a little bit harder, but just get a good squeeze, control, and that's the one thing that you can do that's At home, it's very easy to hit those calf muscles. All right, that's it for this video on training your legs when you're at home. I pulled out some of my favorite glute and butt exercises into a separate video. So you're gonna see that in the description below. But for this video, what's your favorite leg exercise? Do you love doing lunges? Do you love lunges as much as I do? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.